yours probably isn't helping, is it? Urgh. Julia waved her menu fan in Eddie's direction. "Deepest apologies for the weather, Sir Edward," she said in an upper-crust English accent. "I take full responsibility." He heaved a deep sigh, and his body went even flatter, something I wouldn't have thought possible. "Want to bet on how many people show up at this stop?" I asked. The movement of Julia's fan slowed as she considered. "Twice as many as the last one." More math? The woman was cruel. No one showed up. And 2 times no one is? A big fat 0. I slid down in my chair and wished I had my own menu from Fat Boy's Pizza to fold into a fan. When we'd discovered the air conditioning was out, I'd called Josh Hatton, the library's IT guy, and asked him to send out a mass text to all the Bookmobile patrons to let them know what was going on. He'd grumbled, saying that we were perfectly capable of doing it ourselves with the hotspot he'd set up, but I told him we were on the east side of Tonawanda County, outside of the hills and valleys and lakes of the county's western side. Although we were in the county's flatlands, it was also sparsely populated, so telecommunications were routinely inconsistent and spotty. Josh had given one more obligatory grumble, said I owed him one, and hung up. The end result was Julia and Eddie and I sitting in the gravel parking lot of a small white clapboard church, waiting for a breeze that wasn't coming. "Just like Godot," I muttered, but not very loudly, because otherwise Julia would have started quoting the play, and I'd never once been able to sit through a production of Samuel Beckett's most famous work without falling asleep. It was, without a doubt, a character flaw, but so far it was one I'd managed to hide from my coworker, and I hoped to continue to hide it ad infinitum, which was undoubtedly another character flaw. "Snow," Julia said weakly. "Remember snow? A bare 5 months ago this land was covered in a bleak blanket of white. Damp cold pierced our bones, and we longed for spring, for summer. And now?" She sighed. "Oh, the trickery of a wish granted." I expended some energy to turn my head. She didn't look like she was quoting from something, but it could be hard to tell. "Was that you or a character?" I asked. "No idea." She flapped the fan in her face. "Too hot to remember." I slid down in the folding chair so far that my chin was almost touching my chest. Sighing, I wondered how much of the scheduled stop time was left. Once we got back inside, battened down the hatches, and got rolling, at least we'd have some breeze from the open windows. My phone was in the pocket of my cropped pants, which were made marginally professional because I always wore a belt. I thought about pulling it out to see what time it was, but didn't want to risk working up a sweat. If I started sweating, it would be hard to stop. Soon, the only thing left of me would be a puddle of perspiration, and who would be left to drive the bookmobile back to Chilson? Julia had never wanted to go through the training to get her commercial driver's license, a requirement of the library, though not of the state of Michigan, so she was out. Eddie didn't have the license either, but he also didn't have opposable thumbs or legs long enough to reach the pedals. I closed my eyes, smiling at the image of Eddie driving the bookmobile. If he could, he surely would, because rules and regulations, whether state, federal, local, library, or mine, didn't mean much to a cat. "Hey, Minnie?" My eyelids opened slightly. "What?" "It's hot. I'm hot." I sat up. Julia, the indefatigable and indomitable perpetual optimist, the instigator of many a "Minnie, pull up your big girl panties and do what you need to do" conversation, sounded different. If I hadn't known better, I would have said she sounded human. This could not be allowed to go on. It was time to abandon the heat and humidity-inspired ennui. And I knew exactly.